us in a moment, but we thought we should stick to the time a little bit. I know some people may have to leave before the end, so I would like to start. And I would like to start by first welcoming Commissioner Friederich. Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us. We're honored to have you with us tonight. Our other two speakers also welcome Jan Gerbrandy, Member of the European Parliament and Rapporteur on the Biodiversity Strategy. Very important to have you with us and to get your views. And Charlie Dunmore from Reuters, somebody from a different perspective, but we think that this is an important media project. I'd like to hear what you think about that. We also invited European Environment Agency, and unfortunately Jackie couldn't make it. She's asked to send a little video, so Gordon McGuinness has sent us a message that we will get on the screen in a moment. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having joined us tonight. This evening we are launching the latest red lists, the red lists on molluscs, on freshwater fish and on plants. But it is not just launching the red lists. It's an event that marks the end of a program of work to assess pretty well the biodiversity of Europe. We've looked at more than 6,000 species in Europe. It's not just about facts and figures tonight. We also hope to provoke some ideas, some thoughts, some action. We want to send out a call to everybody. Policymakers, scientists, managers, all stakeholders. It is time to act. We have, as I said, Commissioner of Environment, we have the Rapporteur on Biodiversity of the European Parliament, we have somebody from Reuters, and together we want to send a strong signal. It is time to do more for biodiversity, for nature, for our species. We did unfortunately not reach the target to hold biodiversity by 2010. We need to switch to action to make sure this doesn't happen in 2020. Most of you, I hope, are familiar with the European Red List of Threatened Species, but not all of you are aware that we also have the European activities. This is basically the European expression of the global Red List. The Red List of Threatened Species is the most comprehensive and objective approach for evaluating the conservation status of biodiversity. It classifies the status of each species according to their risk of extinction based on a series of scientific criteria and quantitative thresholds. But the Red List is not just a list. It's not just a list of species. It is a comprehensive assessment of the state of biodiversity. A lot of data underpin the actual categorization of each individual species. For each one, we've collected information about the geographical distribution, which is expressed on maps. We've defined the habitat, the ecology of the species, collected information about the population trends, the threats, and the conservation measures needed to maintain or to improve its status. In this European project that has lasted a number of years, it started back in 2006, we've assessed all mammals, all amphibians, reptiles, all freshwater fishes, freshwater molluscs, aquatic plants, all butterflies, dragonflies, and a selection of beetles, plants and terrestrial molluscs. All in all, more than 6,000 species. That does not mean that we've assessed everything. It does not mean we know everything. There's still a lot of work ahead of us. And I'm pleased to announce that next year we will start the assessments of the European pollinators and the medicinal plants. But what we've done so far is a good part of the biodiversity of Europe. And the results of this project provide us with an overview and a good indication of the health of nature in Europe. They demonstrate the impact that human activities have on natural habitats and the species they host. And I'm sorry to say that, having heard a few of the figures, you will realize it really is time to act. Because, sadly enough, the overall situation is not good. Species linked to freshwater systems seem to be presenting the highest levels of threat. Almost half the freshwater molluscs are threatened in Europe. Water pollution, abstraction of water, drainage of wetlands. Freshwater fishes, 1/3 is threatened. Again, water losses, alien invasive species, badly planned infrastructure, general overfishing. Amphibians are the third most threatened group, and further freshwater dependent groups that have been assessed are dragonflies and aquatic plants, with threat levels of 15% and 7% respectively. Terrestrial species show equally alarming figures. 20% of the molluscs, 90% of reptiles, 15% of mammals, 13% of birds, 12% wild plants related to crops, 11% of saprophytic beetles, and 9% of Europe's butterflies are threatened, according to these assessments. The immediate threats may differ, but the result, unfortunately, is the same. The habitat of our precious species is being degraded and sometimes lost. So this reveals a very alarming situation. But at the same time, the Red List also allows us to look at some of the good news stories, because it shows us that where we have well-designed conservation measures, species under the EU Habitats Directive or included in Natura 2000 Protected Area Network, have actually improved their chances of survival. For example, the beaver. A number of European rivers had no longer beavers living along their shores and now have viable populations. The Mallorcan midwife toad, endemic to Europe, has improved from critically endangered, which really means there were very few left, to vulnerable, a better situation, thanks to conservation action. The improvement of water quality, mainly through the Water Framework Directive, and large-scale investments in water purification, have helped to improve the situation for many of our fishes. For example, the lampreys have now recovered and have viable populations. So it certainly isn't all bad news. Specific action plans have also allowed successful targeted action. Excuse me. For example, by breeding threatened species in captivity or reintroducing them in the wild. The osprey in Scotland is an example. I was there last week and I actually saw the nest of an osprey and saw the footage earlier this year of 2 chicks being hatched, being fed and flying off. So these results demonstrate that when the needs of species are taken into consideration during planning and implementation of agricultural policies, infrastructure construction or urban development, conclusive results give us hope for safeguarding the future of nature and help to ensure the well-being and the economics of societies in the long term. Effective collaboration with the directorates responsible for agriculture, for regional planning, for infrastructure is key to reach the objectives of our strategy. And some of the examples above illustrate there is hope for success if we do it right. Conservation works, we just need more of it. So please, wear red, raise your voice, promote action. It is time we act. Thank you.